Hi, Comm 130, it's Sister Peterson. Here's section 17. So I don't know if it just went live. Anyways, I just critiqued the other section, so I'm going to now critique your section too as well. Here's the rules kind of for my draft critique. I'm going to critique all of you all at once on one video. And the reason why I do that is it's easier for me to not have to make individual videos, but also it's nice for those of you who want to watch multiple critiques because it helps you. I give pointers throughout the whole critique about, just suggestions and stuff. And so it's nice to be able to refer to this or refer to that critique. And it also helps for you to be able to watch multiple critiques too as well, because you can learn more from watching critiques. Trust me, I've been critiquing since I was a TA, and my design has improved more than like 90% because of watching critiques. I'm just a lot cleaner. I'm a lot more good at paying attention to details or things that that don't come naturally right at the beginning. And the more you critique, those stuff start to be ingrained in you, and it's just helpful. So if you want to become a better designer, I strongly recommend you watch other critiques too as well. You don't have to watch this whole video. You don't even have to watch other critiques as well. You can skip ahead and watch what works for you. I'm gonna share my screen so I can show you. But you can definitely skip ahead, watch other critiques, watch just a few. It's up to you. Now, the order I'm going to critique is in alphabetical order, first name. So you're all on the discussion board. So in case you do want to skip ahead, this is the order I will be doing my draft critiques in, okay? If you want to know how to order this discussion board A to Z, you can come over here to sort by and then go author's first name A to Z. That way you can see what order you are in on the critiques. I'm going to be fast on these critiques because I have a lot to go over and critique, and it's going to take an hour probably for me to get through everything. Now, with me going fast, I might miss some things, so definitely pay attention to other students' critiques. Also, if you go and you make the changes that I suggest and you want me to look at it again, make sure you're heading the right direction, that it's looking right, that you are seeing what I'm envisioning, or if you're concerned that what I envisioned isn't working, definitely email me. I'd be happy to check this out again. Just don't wait till Saturday, because I will not be doing draft critiques on Saturday. If you haven't noticed, I am so good at responding to emails every day but Saturday, because I feel like Saturday and Sunday is my time to finally take a break and be with my spouse and not have to stress about, because I worry about you guys a lot. I check my email a lot. So don't email me on Saturday expecting a draft critique. It more than likely won't happen. Hit me up on Friday or any other day of the week. The sooner the better, because then you have more time to fix any suggestions that I have for you, okay? Now, before I start, commonly missed things, so that I can just cover this in the beginning, and that way I can always say, hey, watch the beginning of the video, I cover this. Widows, that is such a common error that students make. Well, let me go over paragraph rules first. So paragraph rules, you do need to make sure that you break up your paragraphs. So you either, right now, this paragraph is all one paragraph. Don't try and read this, it's just placeholder text. But it's all one, it looks like all one paragraph because it just runs together. So with magazine ads, you need to break up your paragraphs. You either need to have a space in between the paragraphs or a line indent. And how you do that in InDesign is if you just click and then you Command A or Control A on a PC, that selects everything, all the text. And then you're going to come over here to the top toolbar and you're going to click on Paragraph Formatting Controls. It's this little paragraph icon. Click on that. Here are your options. So like I said, you could do first line indent, and if you just, it's right here, first line left indent, an arrow pointing to the indent. If you just click up twice or even 3 times, don't go more than 3, it indents the beginning of every paragraph. So InDesign recognizes where there's a hard return. That means in their mind, that's the end of the paragraph. So you can use that to indent. Now, if you're working with subtitles, you may have to, like, let's say this is a subtitle right here. Let me just make it bigger. This is a subtitle right here, right? You may have to, instead of highlighting everything, all the column, let me take that indent off, because it indents the subtitle too as well. See how that's indented? So I gotta take that indent, whoops, off. So instead of highlighting everything, just highlight everything underneath that subtitle, everything till the next subtitle, and then just click, and then it indents, okay? The other option is, and this is my favorite, so I'm partial to this. So, but doesn't mean you have to use it. But it's space after. So where you break up the paragraphs with space after. So if you just hover over these icons, it tells you what it is. So right here, space after. If you just click twice on that, it gives you a nice space after it. And it does that on all the paragraphs. So that's nice. Thank you. Now, again, I'm going to link these columns. So I'm going to, I have extra text below here. So I'm going to click on this plus sign, and I'm going to draw another column. Okay. So make sure you are using the body copy rules. The other thing is widows. If you are running into a widow, which is a word on a line by itself, there are multiple ways you can get rid of it. You may need to just adjust the column, and it's okay to have a little bit more spacing, but sometimes, like, I'm even adjusting this, that's maybe too much spacing, and I don't like how much space that is, but it got rid of the widow. So what's my other option? Because I don't want that much space, right? So maybe you adjust the column, you don't like how much space it is. You can also just highlight that paragraph, and then come over here to your character control up here. So look for the letter A, and you're going to increase your tracking or decrease your tracking. So right here, the VA with a double arrow behind it, that's your tracking, which is the spacing, the space between each of the letters. So I can go and increase that, and just by increasing and pressing up once, it already brought another word down to the line, so I don't have a widow anymore. You want to avoid widows because right now it's throwing off the balance of your paragraph, okay? That's one of the body copy rules that you read in your reading, to avoid widows, a word on a line by itself. So that easily brought another word down there. You never want to go above 20. So you can go to 20, but if you go above 20, it starts to be very obvious that you've increased your tracking on the spacing. I'll show you. Like, you can tell there's a lot more space in between the words than there are here, okay? So there you mess with the tracking. So never go above 20. 20 is almost sometimes pushing it too, but you can get away with 20. And then the same is going down, because you can also decrease your tracking. And see how I decreased the tracking and then the word came onto the next line? So again, I just clicked once and it's now -10 for the tracking. I can go to -20. Don't ever go below -20, okay? So that's a way to get rid of widows. And then the other thing is orphans. So right here, actually, let me create an orphan real quick. An orphan of a paragraph, but with a line by itself, or the end of a paragraph with a line by itself. So if this line was all by itself. So you want to avoid orphans. It's another one of those body copy rules that you need to follow. So how do I get rid of beginning of a paragraph line by itself? You just kind of have to play around with the columns is what you do to get rid of those, okay? but get rid of those orphans. And then the last thing that I wanted to go over, was there one last thing? No, that's pretty much, oh, hyphens. So get rid of hyphens. So if you Control A, select everything again, or Command A on a Mac. Look at me putting a PC shortcut first. So nice, right? For you PC users, I'm learning. All right, so I've selected everything, and then I come over here to my paragraph formatting tool again, and then you come over here to where it says hyphenate, and there's a little box. Uncheck that. That removes hyphens. You want to get rid of all your hyphens. You don't want hyphens in there. Dashes are okay. The difference between dashes and hyphens. Dashes are like in between words. Like some words have dashes in it, and that is okay to have dashes. Hyphens is when you take a word and you cut it in half and move it to the other line and you just hyphenate it. You want to avoid that in design, okay? Hyphens look messy, okay? All right, so those are the things that I wanted to go over. Those are commonly missed problems on your body copy, and I will be referring to those things throughout your drafts, okay? So we're going to start with you, Andrea. I read Andrea's. Guys, I have had a long day, so I am really tired. So bear with me. We're going to get through this together. If I say wrong things, just laugh and I'm human. Let's move on, okay? Thank you for your note, Andrea. Oh, I'm already liking it. Okay. I'm just getting a peek through the whole thing real quick, okay? All right, so I love your typography, first off. I feel like that's the strongest point on your design. Your typography, your colors are all very strong on here. And the consistency on those. I love your title, the contrast in the typography. Just love how this turned out. It looks really nice. President Uchtdorf's a little hard to read. Maybe I would make that just a little bit bigger or even make it white. I would just put it white. If you make it white, it might be easier to read and just a little bit larger, okay? Just a little bit. I like how small it is in comparison to the title, but just maybe a little bit so it's not so hard to read. But I love the alignment here too and everything. I like that you've broken up your paragraphs nicely, easy to read through. Your subtitles, do you have enough subtitles? I only see 2 right here and here. Make sure you have 3 subtitles. You need 3 subtitles in there. So find another area to put a subtitle. Even if it doesn't come in the article, make up a subtitle because you need to have 3 broken up subtitles. And then I keep them the same size. So this is a little bit large. I like the size of this subtitle. So make this subtitle, make your subtitles all the same size and make them about that size, okay? Now your text is getting a little hard to read here. What I would suggest is putting a nice transparent box behind it so it's a little easier to read, or lowering the opacity on the image. I don't know, it's a cool image, it's very strong. So what you do, let me just grab an image here. Make sure. My work, I'm on my work computer and we just love GIFs. So we send each other GIFs all the time. Let me just do this. Command D. I'm gonna place an image in here. Desktop. I have a lot of screenshots of ads that I'm doing right now. Those probably won't work. I've got to have images on here somewhere. Okay, cheesy, but we're just gonna use me and my husband. Okay, so I have an image on here, we're gonna bring it to back. I'm putting the text on top of it. So here are my options. I could lower my opacity on the image and make it softer. So if I just click on that image, I'm trying to make it kind of set up like yours is. But anyways, if I just click on it, I can lower the opacity here, and that kind of lowers the opacity so it's easy to read. I kind of like your image though, the opacity it is. So the other option is you can create a box and put it underneath, on top of your image, but underneath your text. So I just created a rectangle with the rectangle tool. Let's add, I like to add colors that are similar. So where you have like kind of these greens and whites, I would maybe add like an off-white color, and you can always eyedrop that. So for example, let me just use the sky image, for example, and I can go in here and eyedrop my image, and it gives me all these color schemes. I can pick which one I want. Oh, let's do that. Eyedrop, and then right here, click add these items to your swatch option. So click on that, and it adds all these colors there. Then I'm going to click on my box. So the eyedropper tool is right here, by the way. Sometimes I gotta slow it down and explain where things are. But anyways, I'm gonna click on my box. I'm gonna come over here to the different swatches, and I'm gonna come down to where it says color theme. That's where it just saved, oops. That's where it just saved all those swatches. So if you click this drop down, there's all your colors that you just eyedropped. So I'll give that nice blue, or you might have that off-white color in there. And then I will put it behind my text. So I will right click on it and go arrange, send backwards. If you send backwards, it sends behind each layer. If you go send it back, it'll send it all the way to the back, which is fine. But then you'll need to go and click on your image and right click and go send back. Send it back too, so it's underneath. But anyway, so you have your box here. Now go ahead and let's, oops, I clicked on my text box. Select the box and lower the opacity. And then it makes the text pop a little bit more so you can read it. So you can do that to have a nice opaque box here. That's either the green or this nice off-white, and that way your text will be easier to read. So have that right underneath. And you can, I don't really like the size of this. I will have it kind of match the text. Make sure though that it doesn't get too close to the text. Give it plenty of space. And there you have a nice box underneath your text. So you can do that. This is a really bad example. I'm sorry. Yours will look a lot nicer with it right underneath there. So that's my suggestion on that. The other thing that I'm noticing is that your text is way too close to the edges here. So what's the problem with that is this is a magazine spread, if we were to take it to the printer and they had to cut in a little bit, your text could easily be cut off. So you want to make sure your text is always a ½ inch in from, a ½ inch in from your page. That's why we have these margins here. So remember how InDesign has these margins set up? So don't ever cross this line with your text. So bring your text in to about right here, and that's all your text. The title, the text, it's not so close. Look at your margins. Text is right there, and not you have your text right here. No. And then the other thing is the text is way too close to the text wrap too as well. So if you remember from the text wrap tutorial, if you pull up your text box, so window, text wrap, right here, if you click on your image that you're wrapping it around, and then just click on the up arrow for this, and that'll increase the padding. So increase that, and that will create, it's called offset, top offset, so it actually increases the spacing here and here, okay? So make sure you go in there and give that plenty of space, because right now it's touching the text and it's creating that tension there, is what it's doing. Careful too on your image. I would make it just a smidge smaller, smidgel bit smaller. That's what I love to say, because it's invading half of your column here. You never want to have your text, your elements invade more than half of your column on the text wrap. And I'm going to have a text wrap tutorial on that too as well. Tips that I'm going to add this week. I'm creating. So never have it invade more than half of your column. So I would put it about right here and here. Otherwise your text is stacked and it makes it harder to read. Sorry, I am in a group text message and they just keep appearing. My mom. Okay. Mom, I'm working. So that's what I get for putting my iMessages on my Mac. My text messages come through when I'm working. But anyways, okay, last thing, same thing here. So your biggest thing that I'm noticing is text is too close to things, too close to the edge, too close to the edge of this the circle, too close to the text wrap. So give your text some space. You need to always give your text space. Otherwise it creates a tangent and it's creating that tension. So where it's too close to this text wrap, that needs to be fixed. And then also the quote inside of it is too close to the edge. I would make the quote smaller so that it has plenty of space all the way around. Like this space right here, perfect. So make sure that that space is the same all the way around, okay? And then if you make it smaller, then also make sure that you have 2 words here and here so that you don't have these widows up top and below, okay? But I think that's pretty much it. I would love to see yellow on this page too. You have yellow here and here. I would love to see some yellow on this, even if it's a stroke around the image. And you can just click on an image. Where's InDesign? You can click on an image, and I'll just use this image as example. And you can come over here and add a stroke, and then you can add your yellow stroke around it, okay? And then boom, you have some nice yellow, okay? All right, other than that, it looks good. I love the face. That's my favorite. There's just some that need to be fixed, mainly text being too close to stuff. All right, thanks, Andrea. Here it is. Okay, let's see. All right. Let me just look at everything real quick. These are some fun images that you put here. Okay, so what I love is the consistency on all of this, all your pages. There's definitely some consistency. You're adding a stroke on everything, which, you know, kind of unifies it. I'm seeing blue throughout the piece. Maybe add some blue here too to kind of unify it a little bit more, to add that repetition. Great images that you took here. So those turned out great. And I like your contrast and your title size and your body copy. The body copy could be a little smaller. I am noticing that. Okay, so here's what I would suggest. Right now, the text is really hard to read with this background because the background's very busy. And if you make it white, it might still be hard to read because of the light spots. So what I would suggest is lowering the opacity on the image if you're going to use that image as the background. So for example, if you click on the image, you can come over here to opacity and you can lower it and just have it low. It's okay to have it at 13% and barely be seen because the background is not your focal point. The background's gonna be distracting if it's your focal point. It's taking away from your overall message. So don't be afraid to lower your opacity and have it really opaque. Or the other option is if you want the image at full opacity, do what I did right here. Add a nice white box to put the text in. See, it looks nice. Nothing wrong with that. Adding a white box behind it. But right now, your text and your image are competing with each other, and it's making the text really hard to read, okay? So there's a lot of body copy rules that are being broken here. You need to break up your paragraphs. You need to get rid of hyphens, and you need to get rid of widows. So those are all things that you're missing. Right at the beginning of the video, I show you, because that's a commonly missed thing. Don't feel bad. A lot of people miss that. We're just, we've covered a lot of information. It's hard to remember that typography chapters. But at the beginning of the video, I show you how to fix all of those things in InDesign. So just watch the beginning of the video to get rid of your widows, your hyphens, and breaking up your paragraphs. Your paragraphs need either a space after or an indent, okay? So that'll solve that problem. And then your text is way too close to the edge too. I kind of talked about this with Andrea right there. So make sure that you have your margins for a reason. The margins is to ensure that your text never leaves this area. So you always want to make sure that your text is within 1/2 inch of the document. So look here at your document and your rulers, 1/2 inch. So these purple lines here, don't let it leave that area, okay? And then make sure too that your text isn't right up against this line too of the background. That's creating tension, having it aligned right there at the background. And it's tension makes us feel uncomfortable whether we realize it or not. And it's called a tangent. So give text plenty of space. I love the space between your columns. Give that space over here too as well. So this space, give it over there too. And here you have it, so you're good there. But here again, space between there, okay? So give it some space. And then, do you have subtitles in here? Oh, you do. Let's make those blue, so that they'll pop out a little bit more. Do you have subtitles on there? You need to have 3 subtitles. So I'm only seeing 1. So go in there and add a couple more, and that will add that blue element on here too, to add some unity there. Okay. And I would group young and healthy together a little bit more. I would even, have a box that goes straight across so that it's group these together so they're tighter together by the author's name right here, really close. And then add a box behind it to kind of have it pop out. And you can have that box the blue color that you're doing or just a white color, but that way it's not competing also with the background or getting lost in the background. So let's see if I can show you an example. Magazine spreads. If you ever need inspiration, type in magazine spreads in Google and then go to images. It's having a hard time loading. So, and I like you added kind of a blue box here and here. Let's have that on these and here. And then I don't know if the stroke is an accident or on purpose. Look into that stroke. And then this needs to fit into this box a little bit more. It's overlapping and then it's exiting out. So go ahead and make that smaller. The text can be smaller. It's kind of fun though. I like the angle of it. I haven't seen many quote boxes with an angle like that. So I like the angle. Just make the text smaller so it fits inside that circle. And then bring that over a little bit so it's invading here, because it's invading a little too much here that we're having stacked text. And my rule of thumb with text wrap is never want it to invade more than half of the column here, because then you start getting this stacked text, which isn't working. So move the text wrap over a little bit, or make it smaller so that it's not invading over half of the column, okay? Now, see how we have this solid image and then a white box underneath it? So you're not necessarily needing to put text on top of an image. And if you do, then you want it to kind of be less busy, so that it's easy to read. This is a good example of what I'm talking about, how we have a box right underneath the text. See right here? You can do that easily on your ad. Or if you want to put it on top of the image, that is fine. Just make sure it's still easy to read, or that it's in a spot where there's not a lot of text. So go ahead, type in magazine spread and kind of look at the titles and how they're working with those and your text, okay? My rule is always, you know, be inspired by other people's work. It gives you ideas for your own work, okay? All right, so that's pretty much it. Go ahead and clean up. I would have your background either go to the complete edge or not, but making sure that your content then is inside of it, not on the outside, one or the other, okay? I think that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to look at it again, okay? Oh, and keep your stroke size the same. So here it's thinner and here it's thicker. Decide what you want to do, if you want it thin or thick, okay? All right, thanks, Blaine. If you want me to look at it again, just email it over after you have those changes. But hopefully that gives you some suggestions. Okay, Brenda, it's referenced. Okay, that's good to know. All right, Brenda. I'm just going to look at everything. Okay, so what's really working on this is your colors, that your colors are matching the images, and that you kind of have similar colors throughout the images too as well. It's really unifying this piece a lot. And I like that you've broken up the paragraphs, making it easier to read. Your subtitles are very consistent, so it's easy to find where your subtitles are. Yeah, there's a lot of great things about this. So let me go ahead and go over the things that can be improved. So first off, you have hyphens, and at the beginning of the video, I talk about how to get rid of your hyphens in InDesign. It's easy. It's just a little check mark. So watch that tutorial at the beginning of the video. And then this is where we're having some kind of issues on the flow of reading it. This column inside the column, and then the text being stacked too much on this column. So that's where we're running into problems. The column inside the column makes it hard to know where the flow is. Like, how am I supposed to read this? Oftentimes with magazine spreads, when you're working with more like this is a separate entity of this, like I'm not supposed to read it like this and this. What helps is, I actually just saw this on Google. It's loading. But to kind of break it up so that it's not in proximity together. I'm reading this, but I'm not sure if I need to read over here yet, or if this is a separate part. So you have to kind of establish that it's separate. So if you look at this magazine spread, and I don't know if it'll pull it up larger. It's okay. But Do you see how she has a separate box? And you find this a lot in church magazines where they have like a little quote there. You can make a separate colored box for it and put that in its own little space. Or even like she has here on the image, taking like a quote, a story, a poem, and putting it in its own little box. So you can do that. You can easily just put like its own little box here on the image. Or you can take it and put a box behind it. But don't have it invade the column as much as you do. I would have it maybe invade both of these columns. Because the rule with the text wrap is you never want the the element to invade over half of the column. So right here, it's cutting into half, if not more, and it's making us stack this. And that's not as visually appealing to have your text stacked. So even with this, how it's stacked and it's invading more than half, it's not working. And you want to get rid of that. So I would make this image smaller so it only invades a third of the column, or find a new home for it. It can even just be in its own little section by itself, and then having the text flow around it below. In fact, I would probably even move it down to the bottom and then have it smaller so it's not invading half of the column there, okay? So hopefully that gives you some suggestions on what to do with these two elements. But I'm feeling like we have columns inside of columns, and that's why it's interrupting the flow of how we read it. I hope that makes sense and gives you some ideas on how to place that. You can crop your image in and make it kind of, you don't have to have this full tree in, just a section of the tree, and put it right here. That's an option too as well. Watch for widows, and I talk about in the beginning of the video, so when I tell you to get rid of the hyphens, also get rid of the widows, and I talk about that at the beginning of the video, the tutorial on that. So go ahead and watch that to get rid of your hyphens and your widows. And a widow is a word on a line by itself. And then make sure that your text isn't too close to your image. So when you go into InDesign, if you've applied a text wrap, so I go window, I pull up my text wrap option right here. Just click on your image and then increase the top offset right here. If you just press up, it'll start bringing, let me see, Command D, I'm going to place an image in here. Just ignore it, it's a screenshot. But anyway, so I have my image here, I add a text wrap around it, then I just increase the padding here, and that just gives it more space around it, okay? So that it's not too close to the image. Right now it's right up against the image, and that's creating that tension and making us feel uncomfortable. It's a tangent, okay? And this image, is it pixelated or is this a painting? It just kind of looks like the image is poor quality. So make sure you have a high enough quality image. If that's a painting, just let me know by posting the original in your project report, okay? So those are my suggestions. Oh, the title too. Let's talk about the title. I would get rid of this font. This font's kind of more bold. It fits more a different theme, where your theme is kind of fall, and fall is like almost script-like in a way, or sans serif, like you have your nice font here. But I feel like this font just doesn't fit, and it's one of those overused fonts that we see often. So I just choose a different font there. And then how can you make this title a little bit more interesting to look at? So if you type in magazine spread again, look how we're working with a long title. So we find a word to emphasize it, use script, choose a different font. Here's another great example of playing around with your different categories, making the title a little bit more interesting. This, different text, different size, different values, different colors makes it interesting. Here we have this font all the same size, but we add a different color to add some interest to it. So let's change up the font. It's all the same weight, it's all the same size, and it's all the same color. So there's no real interest added to it. So I want you to type in magazine spread in Google and look at the different magazine spreads and pay attention to their typography and how they make their typography a little bit more interesting, okay? And then think fall too. What is fall? It's more script-like. It's more soft with yellows. I love the yellows that you put in there, so that's perfect. But go through here and get some ideas for your title and how to break it up. It's even, you know, you can even just keep it simple by just saying, fall is the perfect time to bring your all small one line and then family together larger, or even script like, you know, play around with that. And then if you want me to look at it again after you make changes to it, just email it over. I'd be happy to do that. Okay, Cassandra. Well, that's just your InDesign document. I'm not going to open up that. I'll probably have broken links and all that. Okay, let me get a look at this. Okay, so what I'm liking is that you're having a lot of similarities with your shapes. Like you have a lot of circular shapes here, which kind of adds unity to, I think it's unity, all these pieces on here is these. And I like that you're adding consistency with the color throughout the piece. That's unifying the piece too as well, adding color throughout the piece. And I like your contrast in size with the title and your subtitles, that they're easy to point out. There's a lot of things that are working here. So here's my suggestions on what you can do to improve this. So right off the bat, I'm noticing that you're not breaking up your paragraphs, that you don't have hyphens. No. And I'm not seeing any widows. No, or orphans. You're just not breaking up your paragraphs. So you need to break up your paragraphs. You need to either have a space after and a line indent. And I talk about this at the beginning. So watch the beginning, the first tutorial before we get into the draft critiques. Talk about the commonly missed problems. And I show you how to fix your paragraphs so that they're broken up. Right now, it's just one, it's overwhelming. It's all one thing and you can't break up the paragraph. So your audience isn't able to skip to different sections that they need to or navigate through the site. It comes off daunting. So watch that tutorial to break up your paragraphs with either a line indent or a first line indent or a space after. And you have to kind of do it the InDesign ways. Otherwise, if you just hit tab, it's so much work first off. And it takes up more than half of the, well, almost half the column, a third of the column, and it's just not good magazine spread practice, okay? So watch that. I like that you're cropping your images in the circle. That's fun. I know what you're doing here with the talk bubble, but I would group that. You have that little line coming out. Align that better with it or just remove it, because that, it almost degrades the quality of it. That simple mistake just look more tacky. I don't know. If you line that straight up with the circle, you'd be fine. So either one, get rid of it or fix that line right there. But you'd be fine with the circle too as well. And then give a little bit more space here. There's just not enough space. The sister's getting too close to the text. And if you remember your options in the text wrap, so I'm clicking on this image that I've applied a text wrap to. I've got my text wrap, window text wrap. If you don't have this pulled up, go to window text wrap, and then just increase this, and that increases the spacing there so that it's not too close to your image. Okay, so right there, it's a little bit of a tangent. Okay. I would too make your stroke a little bit thicker here around the, and if you just go to, if you click your stroke, then right here next to it, so you select your shape, and right up here you can increase the size of the stroke right there, okay? Make it a little bit thicker. I like though this cutout, that's creating some fun flow to bring me down through the piece. The cookies. I think the title would be better aligned right here at the bottom. It's because you have this awkward descender with the 4, it's almost creating some weird spacing there. So just move this and group it right up here, align it right here on the right side, okay? That's pretty much it. Maybe I would suggest bringing one more design element in there to kind of create some unity, whether it's just like an orange bar across the bottom, whether it's a line, just to kind of bring it all together. That added design element will just, oh, I would increase the spacing here too as well. It's a little close. Okay, that's pretty much it, Cassandra. You're off to a great start though. It's looking really good. Okay. Christy. Okay. So I think it's fun. You have an overall theme. It definitely fits, I feel like, your target audience that you're going for, the playfulness of your text and everything. So that's good. I like that you have consistency with the color. It's bringing flow and unity throughout the whole piece. Your subtitles are easy to point out. And I like that you're being bold and playing around with your typography too as well. That's fun. So there's a couple suggestions. Right now, there's a lot going on. We just need to simplify it a little bit. And sometimes that's actually a harder concept to simplify things, especially when we have so many elements that we like and that we want to include in our article. But you want to be careful that if you have too many elements, it's almost distracting from your overall message, okay? So I feel like there's a lot of different fonts going on and a lot of different styles going on in the whole piece. So let's kind of dissect this. We'll start with the first part. I do like that you're contrasting your type. I love this. This little line and then for the strength of the youth. That's so cool. That's a cool design element that you have there. But the hard part is this is getting distracted by everything else that's going on here. So how can we simplify this? Words that stick. What if this was one line like this? I don't feel like you need to break this up into 2 lines. Have this one line all the way across here, aligned on the right side and the left side. And I'm fine with this font part because I feel like it fits the audience. But I like that you then went to a more professional font underneath. And then, you know, you used your nice old style font here. So you have your playful font and then you have your professional font. So have this come all the way straight across, and then have the contrast right here. And then this is distracting. Want to leave the lasting impressions. This is almost taking away from your cool design elements that you have here. So this can, again, be, if you feel like this needs to be on the first page, then make it smaller. It doesn't need to be this large and distracting from this. You can make it smaller, all one line that goes across again, or this can be just a part of the article and be taken away completely, okay? Okay, and then right now, this image right now has so many tangents on it, and maybe it's because it's not supposed to be on a white background. It's supposed to be cut out itself, but we're not covering cutting out yet. So what I think would be best for you to do is to just create a white box and put it all the way underneath, from right here all the way to the edge there. That way it goes to the edge. You're not having these tangents right here where it's touching the edge of the image. And then it doesn't feel like too, it just has a white background, which it shouldn't. And then this text that you added in here, you can keep this on here, but make sure that it's not too close to the edge of the sock here. Like it's creating tension by touching the edge of the sock. So with tangents are very real, and they're a very hard concept in the beginning to wrap your head around. But what tension does, what a tangent does is it's when two elements are too close to each other that they're creating tension. You always want to give elements either plenty of space or completely overlap. In this instance, it wouldn't be appropriate to overlap. So you want to give it space, but never have things butt up against each other. They shouldn't ever be touching each other. That's where that tension's coming from. So you'll need to make this word here smaller so that it fits into this area and it's not creating tension. Hope that makes sense, okay? And then we come in here, and this is where a lot of things are going on that we kind of have to simplify. First off, don't ever use decorative font for body copy. This is where you need to bring in your professional font. So this nice old style font here should be your body copy. You have the perfect size for your copy. So you can keep that, and you can keep fun copies for the subtitles, but this body copy needs to be like an old style font, a sans serif font or a slab serif font, okay? And nice and small. So go in there and change that font, and then you have a stroke around here. You might have accidentally did that. So to get rid of that stroke, what you need to do is just click on your text box, and right up here where it has a stroke, just come and hit none, and that will get rid of that stroke around that box, okay? And then watch for hyphens. You have a hyphen on your quote here, right here, testify. So watch for hyphens. Also watch for widows, a word on a line by itself, right there, right there. Those are all widows. So if you watch the beginning of my tutorial, the beginning of the draft critique, I do a tutorial on how to get rid of widows and how to get rid of hyphens. So go through that. And then right here, I feel like because you have this fun quote that you played around with the typography on, and then you have this design element here and this image here, this image is getting lost because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to look at next. So what I recommend doing is getting rid of one of these elements, whether it's the background image where it's this design element, or you can even make this design element smaller and just come to this corner. Even though you have it big here, it's fine to make it small over here. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. So either one of those options, to kind of simplify this a little bit more. And then I would take this text right here and make this more the old style font, small, and how you typically see quotes, where it's not the same size of this, just small, so that I'm reading this as a quote, okay? Another option too, to simplify this, you can take, instead of taking this triangle, you can just do a straight out yellow box right behind this so that the image isn't distracting from the quote either. That's also an option. So, and then make sure you delete this page right here. It's distracting. The quality of the image, this image looks a little blurry. Is it a small image? Is it a large enough image? It's just losing some of its quality, and you could have a broken link too as well. So I'd look into this image and see what's going on there. But I think that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much it for my suggestions. If you have any questions on that, or if you want me to look at it again, let me know, okay? And I'd be happy to look over that. Thanks, Christy. Okay, just seeing how. Okay, Jillian. More than likely you hit my because you posted it before I did draft critique, so you're good. Okay. I'll get that. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm liking it, Jillian. I am working with Jillian. Yeah, I thought I saw Jillian. Okay. Cute Polaroids. I'm just looking over everything real quick. Okay. I love the Polaroids though. So you already know that you're gonna add one more image that you kind of took yourself. So that's good. I love the contrast in your typography. This looks great. I love this font. It was one of my suggestion fonts. It turned out cute. It's a cute script and it's easy to read. But I love the contrast that you added there, and the colors look great. There's a lot of unity between this because you've figured out how to place your images on here so that there's unity. And then the watercolors to the design elements. And I know you said you're concerned about some of that. Maybe a suggestion too, since those are images, you can try this and see if that works. But if you go into InDesign and you go to Object and Effects, and then go to Basic Feather or even Directional Feather, you can try Basic Feather. And just kind of create, let me hit preview, a feather there. I would, I forgot how much I don't like InDesign's feather. Let's see if they give you any other options. No, I don't like it. Okay, don't do the feather. I'm not a huge fan of InDesign's feather. This is why it's good to do it in Photoshop instead. Let's try directional feather. I bet that would be better. Directional feather preview. So yeah, it's more gradual. So you can do that, is kind of do a more feather so that you're not seeing those rough lines. And then it kind of looks like it's a watercolor coming in and out. But anyways, so directional feather, and then, you know, decide how much feather you need on everything. I wish that it gave you kind of the opacity that you can change. No. So anyways, directional feather. And then you can always too, after you apply that, you come over here and just kind of decrease the opacity too, so it's slowly blending into the background. That's an option. InDesign is not great for Photoshop work and stuff like that, but maybe that can help get rid of some of these sharp lines so that it just looks like it's fading into the background. More of a watercolor option, okay? So that's a suggestion. Then I talk about widows at the beginning of this video and how to get rid of widows. So you need to make sure you go in there and get rid of your widows, which you have a couple on there. And then I'm not seeing any hyphens, right? And your paragraphs are broken up nicely, so that's good. I don't like that this is interfering in the middle of what's being read, like a flower. Is that all? Just a flower? What else could he see? See, I feel like those group together, and I feel like this quote box is interfering with the proximity of this. So I would either take this quote box and move it underneath where it's not interfering in the middle of thoughts, or have it come over here and have the text wrap around it, okay? One of those options. And then I would decrease your leading, sorry, I lost the word all of a sudden, leading between here. So you can do that by going Window, Type, and Table, and pull up your character palette. And then right here, just this is your actual leading, and you can decrease that by bumping the words down, and then by highlighting that and bumping that down, it'll bring these closer together so they're grouped better, okay? And same here, I feel like this is part of this thought or this thought. Maybe I would bump this paragraph up and then have it be right after that paragraph, because this looks too lonely right there, like it needs to be grouped with text better. Hope that makes sense. But other than that, it looks really pretty. This turned out really nice. So there's just a few of those things that will clean it up. And then if you have any questions, let me know, okay? But you're off to a great start. It looks really good. Okay. Okay, I will, Chris. Insert to the treasure. Okay, this is looking really good, Chris. I'm going to talk about the elements that I really like about this. I love this white space up here. It's refreshing. It makes it so clean. And to have these fun little design background elements, and then I'm drawn into this title, which you have great contrast in this size. I mean, in the categories and the size of this title, it just makes it interesting to look at. Some good alignment there. This is more artistic alignment where you've aligned these, and then this is how you kind of have to work with script to group them together, so that, you know, you've aligned with the E and then the by here. And these are all aligned, and then working with your ascenders and your descenders in the script so that it's not creating that awkward space. So you have still consistent spacing. So what I'm saying is this looks good. Yes, I don't need to explain so much why it looks good. So this paragraph needs to be broken up. You've broken up pretty much all your paragraphs except for this one right here. There needs to be a space between these paragraphs, and then your body. Like that you're point out, there only two though. You need to have 3. So go in there, even if it didn't come with a subtitle, add your own subtitle in there to have a 3rd one. I like that you've decided to add circles to your images and keeping it consistent also with your quote box. That unifies the piece really nicely. And I'm not seeing any widows. I'm not seeing any orphans or any hyphens. Good job. But I am seeing that there needs to be, wait, hereafter, that's one word, isn't it? Then this is a widow. So a widow, word on a line by itself. So if you watch the first video, right at the beginning before I start critiquing, I show you how to get rid of your widows on there. So go ahead and watch that to get rid of this widow. And then I feel like this is a nice clean text wrap. Is this attempting to be a text wrap? It feels like it might be, but it's not really wrapping in all areas. So my suggestion on this, the quote box, is for one, don't let it break up the middle of a sentence. So where it has violin until he had his farm chores, it confuses the reader because they're like, wait, do I read this? Is this part of this sentence or do I need to go here? So never have a quote box or an image break up the middle of a sentence so the reader has to read around it. So either put it underneath this paragraph or put it right here in the center. And maybe it would be, it kind of feels like this is almost squished because you have a circle here and a circle here, but this one's more of a oval. So what if you tried to make this more of a circle and you put it in the corner here with the quote or in the middle here with the quote? I would suggest doing that instead because right now it's just feeling a little off the alignment because it's not directly in the column, but it's not really doing a text wrap, and then it's also breaking up the sentence. So I would just find a new home for this. And it kind of would be fun to see this color in your title too. Like maybe just even in the search of or just treasure be that color or both of them, but to have that title there. Then this image, this map behind it. I love this map, but my only thing is I am seeing that it's pixelated, which means I'm seeing the pixels, which means this image is a lot smaller than this background. So you're going to need to find a higher quality image. And if you just got this image off the internet, I'd look for another map that's not so pixelated. Sometimes when you Google images, I already have Google Map. Let's even go vintage. Vintage map. Vintage map. So when you're looking on the internet for maps, what helps I have found is if you go to settings and you go to advanced search and then you go under image size, you choose large and then go to advanced search. And then they have all their larger images up front because you just need your image to be, like if you hover over it, you'll see like 1200 pixels, 820 pixels by 1120 pixels. You want it to be over 1000 pixels. Otherwise you're going to get, dang it, come back. Where did I, oh, it's right here. Otherwise, you're going to get this, like, you see these little boxes here on there, the pixelated images. And even though it's transparent, I still see them. But side note, when you find your map, your image that's higher quality, I love the transparency that you chose here. So this is perfect transparency, nice and soft, and it's not too distracting. So I love that. And I love, too, that Christ is kind of opaque into the map too. All right. So those are my suggestions, Chris. It's looking good though. I love the direction you're going. I love the theme. I love the map. I love your white space. And corrections are great. Thank you. Okay. Romby. I hope, Rombi, I'm saying that right. This is how I'm reading it, and I want to pronounce your name. So if it's not right, I feel embarrassed, and please just email me and let me know how to spell it. I mean, not spell it, say it. But I'm going to say Rombi and cross my fingers that that's how you pronounce your name. The field is white, are ready to harvest. This is looking good. I'm liking it. So what I like is the color scheme, first off, and that there's color throughout the piece that's kind of unified, and it's making it feel like it's one piece. I love the pop of red that you get from the first page to the last, the blue. It's all really nice. So great job on the color scheme. The body copy looks good. Broken up paragraphs and everything. There's a couple of errors that need to be fixed in the body copy. And they just making sure that you're looking for widows, which is a word on a line by itself. Get rid of those widows. And that's pretty much it. I mean, everything else, the widow, yeah, that's it for the body copy. So I give suggestions on how to get rid of widows at the beginning of this video. So go ahead and watch that beginning of the video for those suggestions. Do you only have one? Oh, you have two images. This one. Did you take those images? So part of the assignment requirements is that you do take 2 images yourself. You can still use these images, but you have to have 2 images that you did take yourself too as well. So make sure that you do have 2 images that you've taken on your own. I just love the title and how you set that out. It does create a lot of interest, and your subtitles too. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's very clean and very easy to navigate through. There's a great flow throughout the piece. The main thing that I'm noticing is that one widow, and then the requirements that you don't have 2 images that you took yourself. Okay, so those are my suggestions, and that if you apply those, you're looking at an A on this project. So thanks, Rombi. Right. Okay, Samara. I love the title. Okay, I'm going to look at this real quick. Okay. I love the mountains, the images that you have here, all colors. So this must be more your home areas. Beautiful. Mountains to climb. I love the title, the contrast there, the diagonal alignment. It all looks really nice. Your body copy is a little large, so make sure that's 12 point or below. I would, even if it's 12 point, I would go down a point just because it's a little large. It's invading. It's feeling a little overwhelming. So make your copy just a little bit smaller. So a couple of body copy rules, and you'll see my tutorial at the beginning of this video on how to fix these. You have widows. A widow is a word on a line by itself. So you have quite a few widows there. I would also go in and get rid of all these numbers on here. When you copy from lds.org, sometimes it brings those numbers over. Get rid of those. So get rid of your widows and watch my video at the beginning on how to get rid of those widows. I'm not seeing any hyphens, so that's good. And I'm not seeing any orphans. You're good. And you've broken up your paragraphs, so that's nice. I would hit continue reading on page 4 because remember, this is a magazine spread, so it's going in a magazine spread. So just continue reading on page 4 or page 2, whatever. Just make up a page and put that in there. Careful on your text wrap that you're not having these words by themselves, that it's not interfering. The text wrap's fine here, but I would remove the text wrap from this, or just have this all on one line right below it, and not have this column go into a text wrap. Just because when we read, we want to come automatically over here. We're not accustomed to going up high up here and reading these 1 or 2 words by themselves. So bring that down. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. And I like the yellow throughout the piece too. I almost wish that it was more of like this golden yellow. So maybe add a little bit more orange to the yellow so it matches the image so that you have the same colors here. And then you see how you have this nice old style font here. I would use that same font for your subtitles to create consistency there, and then also for your quote box on the middle. You have 3 different fonts here, and this Mountains to Climb would look better if it was part of the subtitles and also the quote. Then it'll create some unity, because this page is almost feeling separate from these pages because of those added elements. And really, I mean, that's all that needs to be fixed. Everything else looks pretty clean. So let me know if you have any questions on that. But it's off to a great start. Oh, Tia, I almost missed you because I already clicked on you. So thank goodness. Have it all. Okay, Tia. Okay. Okay. All right, so great job on breaking up your paragraphs. I also love the consistency of the colors on the images, the sky that you have here, and then the silhouette here. I would love to see these colors still throughout the piece. I mean, you have this nice yellow here that you grabbed from the image. Maybe bringing that same color in your subtitles, or even another pastel color like the pink will really help unify it. And then even like for your color box underneath, or even your quote, you know, adding that color in the quote. Just finding a way to incorporate these pastel colors throughout the piece will even unify the text with the images, because your images go together really well. And this starting goes really good with the image, but then I feel like we're losing some of the colors and consistency. Okay. You can even put in the subtitles here. And then I feel like there's a lot of different fonts going on. So you chose a nice old style font for your copy and a script font. But then this font's feeling like it's just kind of like a last minute added font. It's not feeling like it fits really. So what I would do is I'd either make your body copy font this font and then bold it, or use the script for the subtitles, one or the other. And just use those 2 fonts throughout the piece, okay? I like that you're adding contrast with your title. It looks really nice. This is feeling a little too close to God right here, the author's name. I just bring it down. I like that it's kind of put into this area, but I bring it down just a little bit so it's not almost touching the O here. Bring it down and over just a little bit, and then maybe make it smaller too, because it's getting way too close to the edge here too. If it's in a fold, or if it is at the edge, it could get cut off, and you want to be careful of that. So always make sure your text stays in this margin here. So you can make this just a little bit smaller, okay? You do have an orphan here. An orphan is the end of a paragraph or the beginning of a paragraph. The line wraps and it's by itself. So you want to make your column a little smaller, but you'll lose, this will be an orphan too. Let's see, what would be your solution for this? you go bigger, you might need to just bring this up a little bit so that you can bring this column up a little bit so that this won't be an orphan over there. And then if you need to, you can always add a black box underneath so that to extend that if your image doesn't go all the way down. That might be an option. But yeah, you're going to need to get rid of this orphan, and you just might have to make this column just a little bit bigger. But I don't want it to, I want it to be in the black because that looks really nice how it's in the black land. But maybe you'll just bring this up a little bit. See what you can do there. If you need other suggestions, let me know if that's not working, okay? And then your quote box, the text isn't wrapping around it. So if you need help on that, it's probably because you don't have the box and the text grouped together. So figure out your placement, group it together, and then apply the text wrap and it'll wrap around it. But then again, be careful because if you're wrapping right where it's at, the location that it's at, it will invade more than half of the column. Maybe so that it doesn't invade half of the column because you don't want to stack your text up against each other. You can always bring it down into this corner and have it in this corner and in this area and then having the text around it that way. That's a suggestion. But if you need help with this text wrap, let me know. And I did create a nice text wrap tutorial that I'll be sharing too this week in my tips and tricks suggestions, okay? So you'll see that in the course. Probably I'll do that right after this. Okay, and then with your text wrap, be careful too here. You have a widow and some hyphens here. And at the beginning of the video, I talk about how to get rid of hyphens and I talk how to get rid of widows. So you have hyphens here. And so watch just the first part of this video and I go over all of that for you to help you with that. But you got to be careful with text wraps, again, that it doesn't invade more than half of the column. And the reason why is because then you start getting words that are stacked up against each other and they're hard to read too as well. Because it's hard for us to go here and do we read over here or here? It just interrupts the flow of the reading. So I put this in the center and have it not wrap over half of it, or I'd have it down at the bottom. So I don't have my spread. I wish I did have my spread, but watch my text wrap video and I kind of go over that with my spread and that will give you some ideas on where you can place that. But this needs a new home. It needs new placement. And you can easily just put it down here too and have it wrap this way, going this way through both columns, okay? Let me know if you have questions on that. And I think that's pretty much it for my suggestions. Oh, this phrase. So an inspired counselor invites her to write the phrase, "I'm a child of God." I like how it's scripted, maybe, but it's still not staying grouped together because you have it all in another line. So you'll either need to keep it like the line phrase, "I'm a child of God," like you do kind of here, or I would put a semicolon there so that it reads like on the second line. Does that make sense? Because right now you're interfering with the proximity. This is not feeling grouped really well with this, and this isn't feeling grouped with this. You need to just make sure everything is aligned and that they're grouped together. And then make sure that your text isn't too close to the edge of the box. Give it plenty of space all the way around, because right there where it's right up butt against the box, that's creating a lot of tension. Okay, so if you need help with that, let me know. Set up an appointment with me tomorrow in my office hours and we can go through that with each other. But if you're understanding what I'm saying, then you can just go ahead and play around with that, okay? Thanks, Tia. It's looking good though. I love the style of it. It's looking really nice. Just some things that need to be cleaned up. Okay, Andrea. You're the last one. Let's look at this. Fun. I love the little colors and the shapes in there, adding some nice interest to it. And I like that you're breaking barriers. This is a little bit more of a creative approach to a creative alignment and stuff. Some rules are being broken, but it's being broken correctly. So it's looking good. With how much fun you're having here, I wish there was more fun in the title. It's a long title. There's a lot of text. So, and it's all the same size, all the same weight. And then there's like, you have these bold subtitles, but you're not really doing that fun, bold sans serif font with this. You chose more of a traditional old style font, which I feel like doesn't really fit the overall theme. I would go with your sans serif font, your boldness to the title, and then I would like to see some more interest to the font. How can you make this a little bit more interesting? Even if it's just taking a word and changing the color, like second one, or take a chance and making that the red color will add so much more interest to your title. If you type in magazine spread, I've been showing this a lot. I want you to look at their titles and how they make them interesting. So the next big thing, do you see how they play around with the different categories of the font to make it interesting? Looks cool. Adding color to words makes it more interesting. This is really kind of freaky, but the death of free thought. I mean, it's pretty powerful, actually, the image and then this text with it. You know, you just want to kind of, it creates a lot more interest to it. That it's not all the same weight, it's not all the same size, and it's not all the same color. This is just playing around with thick and thin. Stop is bold, and then I can't really read what is underneath this. Trans? Well, there you go. There's the message. I don't know if it's BYU appropriate that but anyways, but do you see, like, the important part is the weight of this and how it adds interest to it, okay? Different sizes, you know, will add more interest to the to the title. And just, you know, they added little yellow bar behind it. So I want you to type in magazine spread and just go through and kind of pay attention to their titles and what they've done to make their titles stand out and be interesting, okay? And if you'll notice, the main thing with the titles is that they're not all the same exact font, same size. There's something that is different that adds a little bit more interest. I mean, this one is the same, but they added that bar behind it to kind of bring it out, to add some interest to it. So that's my suggestion. I want to challenge you, because you've done some fun elements in the spread, challenge you to do something with the title too as well. All right. Text wrap looks good. You're not breaking up your paragraphs is what I'm noticing. So at the beginning of the video, I talk about the paragraph rule, the body copy rule, that you need to break up your paragraphs. So watch that at the beginning of the video. You also have widows here. I talk about how to get rid of your widows and your hyphens. So these are all common mistakes that people make, students make in the beginning. That's why I addressed them at the beginning of the video. So watch that and then apply those changes. So get rid of your hyphens, get rid of your widows, and break up your paragraphs too as well, okay? I like your alignment with this box and this image here. Looks cool. And I love the colors. I even like this breaking barriers here. I almost want, you know what? I'm fine because you have this spacing. So the spacing, that they're not overlapping. So never mind. I was going to suggest overlapping this, but it doesn't need to be. Okay, so those are my suggestions. It looks great though. A lot of fun things going on, a lot of fun elements, and your pictures look great and your colors look great. So play around with your title and then fix those body copy rules, okay? All right, everybody, great job. Again, email me. I'm probably sharing and I don't even realize it. Yep, there I am. Okay. Email me if you want me to look at it again before Friday. And thanks for your hard work on this. It's looking great. Look for my tips and tricks on text wraps and then justifying text. I'm going to be sending those out. And then I might do a video on how to export with spreads. Okay. Thanks, guys. You're awesome.